Hey everybody, Scoutcrafty here again. It's Wednesday, midweek Wednesday. We got a few things going on today. We're going to try and get to Tom's alcohol torch and see if we can get that fired up and working. Had a few things to do this morning. Had to separate my, the mice. When they get to a certain age, you got to separate them so I don't run into the problem I have been running into before. And this is such a cute age for these guys. Look how cute they are at this age. You know, they're blind for the first 10 or 12 days, blind and deaf. They can't hear or see, and the mother really, takes them and puts them around. And so now their eyes are opened up. They're just starting to see and hear, and it's an adorable sight. When they sit on your hand and they look at you, because they're saying, "What are you?" Imagine the first thing you're seeing as a mouse is a big head like mine. So, but they are adorable now. So they're all comfortable, happy, and in another couple weeks they'll be out in the wild and exploring. It's amazing, isn't it, that two mice that were destined for death. One was destined for mouse food at the pet store, and the other one was caught by my cat. And yet, those two created 36 lives that'll go on and, who knows, start a whole new generation. I find that amazing. It's just that destiny was on their side, right? So anyway, let's get started right away. We got a few things to talk about. First thing I want to talk about is the poor man's flea market's been pretty good to me. And you know why? Because I live in an area where there's a lot of rentals, That's stay away from anywhere there's a lot of rentals. That's the worst sign of a neighborhood. Anyway, because there's a lot of rentals, people stay a year or two and then they move on or whatever, and it's too expensive to pack this stuff up, so they just throw it out. And I could tell you, exercise bikes, treadmills, furniture, there's thousands of those things that are only a year or two old thrown out. I saw something the other day. It was 2 houses away. And let me show you what it was. Hey, first off, last week I saw these 2 ugly lamps that were thrown out, but they were fairly new. So I got 2 nice cords from the lamps with the sockets. Really nice. Nice microwave cord. This is all I found 2 pieces of 4-foot long copper pipe. I use this stuff for all kinds of things. And man, this is actually literally a precious metal now. So grab that. And whenever I see these curtain rods thrown out, this thing is 6 foot long, but it extends. See here, that's 6 foot, and then this extends and you could slide it out to like 10 or 12 feet. It's for curtains, but I use all this tube for certain projects I make. This is I don't know what kind of tube it is, but it's a nice tube, got a nice finish on it. And these finials, I guess we call them, you can always use them for something, right? I grab it. I found this other curtain rod. Now this is aluminum tubing. Again, I use this for all kinds of projects, but look at what was on top of here. Let me clean one of these up and show you how cool that is. I don't know if it's glass. Okay, I cleaned it up. I determined that it is plastic, but isn't that a nice... Look at that. I could use this for something decorative. I just think that is the coolest thing, huh? It's just beautiful. For free. 2 of them. Okay, and last up, this is what I was talking about. Last night I was walking, I saw this heavy-duty cord sticking out of like a television stand. I said, wow, that's a nice cord. Let me grab that. And then I followed the cord all the way to the back, and look what was there. This was inside, so I just had to take 2 screws off, and it's a fused 4-outlet junction box, and I think it's got, is that Ethernet? It's got phone, and I think it might be Ethernet. Anyway, 2 cables coming out of there. Very cool. Again, 2 houses away. Never, you can't beat this sometimes stuff. You just can't beat the poor man's flea market. So let's get started with that torch. Okay, this project came from my good friend Tom, and you see here, this is either an alcohol torch or a gasoline torch. Now, the differences are very subtle. Usually it has to do with the orifice or something, and the packing is different, and sometimes there's a wick. I'm assuming and hoping that this is an alcohol torch. Now, usually it's written on here, but you could see here it's kind of out. Now, is that an L? If that is, then it would, alcohol ends in an L, or it could be E. Gasoline ends in an E. I don't know what that says, but the label's all gone, We can always try it with alcohol, you know. And the reason I tend to think this is alcohol, because see this is the burner cap. And what you do is you put fuel in here to heat up the valve, which creates a pressure which boils the alcohol or gasoline, and creates a pressure which makes your torch. The problem is that usually the gasoline ones I've seen, like this torch here, this is a gasoline torch. It has a much larger fuel reservoir because you have to heat up much more of the burner assembly, where the alcohol usually only has a small cap like there. You don't need too much. So let's try it with the alcohol, see what we got. Now, the first thing we're going to do is take it to the wire brush, clean all the parts up, and see if we need to straighten anything out. Like over here we can maybe do something with that. But we'll get it all cleaned up. The valve is working, okay? So this move, that's a good sign right there. That's the orifice I was talking about. That there's a little pinhole in there, and this screws on like that. So let's get all this cleaned up and see what it looks like. Okay, we have completed our initial cleanup, and we just got, but of course when you clean up, that's why we do it, to see if there's any issues. And of course, a lot of these torches had a lot of issues years ago, and I don't know why. It's just, it seems like this is the nature of the beast. You know, there are certain things that you come across that always have kind of issues. Here's one of them. Okay, let's look here. Now, this is, I think this is called a packing nut, or this little nut here, you see is cracked. And that crack looks like it goes all the way through. But so we can't really tighten and loosen this, although this comes out, and in it, I took this out before, cleaned it up. It seems like sometimes there used to be like a needle in there, like a needle valve, but this one here just has a hole in it. You could see here, just a hole, and what I was telling you about before about the orifice, that's right here. You could see that little pinhole right there. That little pinhole was what does adjust your flame and everything. Now, so we have that. We're missing that nut. I was telling you, the nut that holds the handle on. Trying to find that nut is going to be tough. This is a pipe thread, but an unusual pipe. So I'm going to try and find that nut or something I can. And down here, now, a lot of times you say, what about straightening this out? See, brass is a funny metal, and it doesn't like to be bent back and forth too much. And you can see here, see that crack, that stress crack here? So it took a bend this way. If I try and bend that back, there's a good chance I could crack it. So that's a problem. This here has to be opened up into round. And I'm going to try and do that, but I'm going to heat it up a little bit and try and, form using punches and things like that to spread that open. So, and then here's the fuel cap, which is also brass. So that's where we're at now. Let's try and, first of all, let's try and straighten this, get this round. Now I'm going to gently try and pry this open with some punches, but it might crack towards the end because that's what brass does. Now I annealed the cap, which meant I heated it up till it was red hot. Then I dipped it in water. You do that with certain metals. You can do that you don't have to wait till it cools down, like steel. Now you can see there's still some crack. That's what brass does. So I'm just going to round off the end because it doesn't have to be that long, and I'm going to get as round as I can, leaving this on, and then I'm going to cut that off. Okay, now unfortunately I cannot find a nut. Reggie would have one. I can't find a nut to fit this this little threaded area up here, which holds the handle fast, holds it down tight. So I'm just going to leave the handle off for now to see if we can get this thing to work. And I believe this is 26 threads per inch. And so I think that's an electrician's type, because I tried all my brass fittings. Nothing comes close. So let's see if we can't fill this up. Here, we'll fill it up here. Now this usually has a small gasket, which is there. You see that little gasket to hold it. So we'll fill this up with a little alcohol, and we'll see what happens. Maybe we can get it to go. Now the fuel we're going to use here is a denatured alcohol. This is the only fuel that you use. You don't use a methanol or anything because that could run away. Even gasoline could run away from you. So alcohol won't, So now we have a cookie sheet with tin foil over it, aluminum foil. And what we do now is we're going to fill this up. And the reason we have that cookie sheet, if any fuel does get out, it will contain it to this area. I also have my fire blanket nearby, and we're, you know, but alcohol is very safe to work. Okay, now we don't fill it all the way up. We fill it, you know, about halfway, a little bit more than halfway. Now we're going to ignite that alcohol there right below. This is called a generator, and you can see that flame. And what we're going to do is we're going to let that heat up what this is called the generator, and then it will start to boil the alcohol, and then we'll open up this valve here. And when we open up this valve, see, we're getting a little bit of leakage through that packing nut, which I knew we would, because it's not sealed properly. But when we open this up after a while, you see how that's starting to boil, and we'll just give that a second to see. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't get this thing to blossom, but I do want to show you, we did get some leakage out of here, some leakage. Again, you need to pack that. That has to be packed so nothing goes through. So I don't know what happened with this lamp through its lifetime, but what I want to show you is that we had some leakage over here. You see that? That's leaked. And I want to show you what happens and why we put the cookie sheet down. I'm going to ignite that, okay? And I want to show you. There we have ignite. Now that's a worst case scenario if you had a spill down the basement or something. It's alcohol, you know, and you say, oh my God, you know. Now if that was gasoline, it would be a whole different story. But let me shut the light off here so you get a better view. Now that's alcohol, okay? Alcohol's a very clean burning, has no odor whatsoever, won't set off any fire detectors, and it'll burn off relatively quickly, okay? So when this alcohol does burn, you know, burn off, I have my hand about a foot above it. You know, it's not, you know, not like it's going to ignite your sealer or anything. That's why I will mess with alcohols, torches down the basement, but I won't pressurize gas or anything like that, because this is the worst case scenario of what could happen if some leaked out and there was quite a bit of fuel there. But you see how quickly that burns off, and it's no big deal. I want to show you the original blowtorch. You heard the term blowtorch. Let me show you a nice blowtorch. Okay, what I want to show you now is the original blowtorch. You heard the term blowtorch, but you don't know where it comes from. Torches originally were used with mouth power, believe it or not. So this is a copy or a new version of the original blowtorch. Blowtorches they were brass little containers that held a torch just like this, just a wick that would burn alcohol or fuel or whatever type of fuel you had, and had a small tube that would run up the side with a hose that would go to your mouth. Now what you would do is you would blow on it, it would blow air through that tube, and it would make a flame like a torch that you could direct the heat somewhere. These alcohol torches, the modern ones, are used for dental, for making a wax dental teeth, but it's really an interesting thing. Now I'm going to show you, I'm going to light this up, and when I do, let me just light this up for you. Okay, now I want you to see that burns like a regular torch, right? But watch what happens when I squeeze the bottle. Watch what happens to the flame. I'll have hear that? So that's your original blowtorch, okay? And you can squeeze and you could work with, you could, you know, desolder components just by squeezing the air through this bottle up through that hose. That's the original. Now, if you were blowing this, you could keep that torch going. Let me show you with the light off a little bit to give you a better view of it. But here we have the torch, and when I squeeze it, I know what you're thinking right now. How did you not know about that? Is the coolest thing since sliced bread. That is ultra cool, right? There you go. Very interesting, and like I said, they still, this was the original blowtorch. When you hear the term blow, that's where it came from. So you could still get these today. They're made today for the dental industry. This one here is made by Buffalo, I believe, is the company, and this one's made in the United States. Uses denatured alcohol filled up to this line here. You can see it's very economical to use, but if you had to, there's quite a bit of heat that comes off there, and for small bursts. Very interesting, right? So in closing, I know you're thinking that Blowtorch is super cool and you probably want one, and rightly so, and they are available. Tom, I'm sorry I couldn't get that torch working. They're finicky at best, those old torches, and some of them more than others, and I don't know if this one's missing parts. I don't have that much experience with them. It might make a really cool micro lamp. Let me know what you think about that. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you all have a great day. Take care now. Bye-bye.
What you doing, Ted?